Good afternoon, folks. You know, I made a response video to this fellow's video the other day, and I was sort of respectful because I hoped that it would be educational, if not to him, to at least the people listening to him, because he's got about the same amount of subscribers I do, and I hope that he would understand that the Burning Man Festival is in no way, shape, and or form associated with Truckee, California, or any other town for that matter. And it's something that originated in San Francisco, and the theme behind it isn't nothing to do with what you thought it was. And then, secondly, that people choosing to have a celebration of life rather than a grieving funeral is something that's very common in the United States. And in fact, it's over 50% of the population, buddy, that do celebration of life rather than funeral. Now, and how do we know that this is a growing trend? Well, funeral homes are declining, but the population is increasing. Now, I want you to wrap your mind around that. The population is increasing, but the number of funeral homes and funeral plots in graveyards is reducing at an alarming rate. Some would argue that can also be seen or is the side effect of a reduction in Christianity in the country. As there's not as many people going to church today that used to. When I was a kid, church was a big deal. It was a way to stay connected to all your relatives. Our whole family went to the same church, and after church, we had a big get together every week, and we had this big shelter house on a piece of property out in the county. Okay, it had a natural spring that ran down a hill, and that water was ice cold any time of the year. And it was an artesian well, and it was ice cold. And we would put soft drinks in there, orange crush and dad's root beer bottles. And the kids would drink pop, and the parents, some of them might have some beers, some of them whatever. But we had this big deal after church every Sunday. Everybody would bring a little something to put in the potluck, and the kids would all play. Sometimes we did horseshoes. We had mini bikes to ride. It was just a way to stay connected. And a lot of people from the church came. It was pretty much the whole church left there and went to the little party afterwards. And I think it was a good thing. I think there's nothing better than having a strong rooted family behind you. And so the reduction in that has been a reduction in a lot of the processes born in the church, such as a grieving funeral. Most people now, money's tight. A funeral costs about $12,000 to $15,000. I want all you guys that are listening to me right now. Okay. The worst thing that can happen is when something happens to you, your family is burdened by your funeral. So I want you to think for a minute that you go out and do something knucklehead today, and you off yourself, and now your grieving mother, your grieving wife, your grieving father gotta cough up some cash fast, like within 3 days. They gotta try to round up $10,000, $12,000 to have a funeral. And I've seen this catch a lot of people off guard. And when you're my age, okay, I've seen a lot of death. Okay, a lot of my friends that I went to school with have passed away, and many of them left a massive burden. So pay life insurance, guys. It's not that much. It's like $8 a month for somebody that's young. And That being said, I couldn't educate this guy. It got worse. So I'm going to share a bit of his video with you, and we're going to talk about it.
Is the best phone number to reach you the number, the 10?
First of all, the video I did yesterday, I see a couple of people making comments saying, "Oh, what are you talking about? The Burning Man's not in Truckee." Look, if I said it was in Truckee, I'm sorry. I misspoke. All right, but I did say what I remember. I don't remember if I said, "Hey, the Burning Man's in Truckee, check it out." But I wanted y'all to Google the Burning Man, Truckee, California. And the reason I told y'all that is because I went and looked at it and I read about it. So I told y'all to Google the Burning Man, Truckee, California, only not saying that it's in Truckee, but I wanted to make sure that y'all seen the same page as I did. All right? Now,
Which, with all due respect, sir, was just somebody's dumb opinion. You know, if you wanted to get the correct information about Burning Man, the smart thing to do would be to Google Burning Man history, Burning Man origins. Then you would digest some good information.
Now, I also Googled what is the Burning Man in California, right? To see what it said about it. And it was singing, dancing, and it said that all the communities come together as one. So all the community come together as one. That's what I read. Now, it was several different pages, so I didn't read it all. I have to tell you that. So you're liable to have read more than what I read. All right? So for those...
Which I bet you didn't make it past the first paragraph. I'm certain you didn't make it past the first paragraph, and you just decided that the Burning Man festival was about singing and dancing, and it was in Truckee because that's what her mom was talking about when she said that they were going to be singing and dancing.
Those that are like, "Oh, it's not in Truckee." I didn't mean to say that. So I'm sorry if I said that it's in Truckee. But anyway, I thought it was just funny that I read everything about it, and it was like singing, dancing, everybody coming together. And then
You didn't read everything about it. Not by a long shot. Because if you would have read everything about it, you would have felt foolish to try to connect it to her parents or Truckee, which was exactly what you were attempting to do. See, this time I'm not going to be as polite. I'm just going to keep it real. Like real. And in keeping it real, that's exactly what you were doing. You were implying that Kylie's mother was in some way connected to the Burning Man Festival. And when she spoke of singing and dancing, that was what she was referring to. And it couldn't be not only more absurd, but it's so far from reality because singing and dancing isn't what the Burning Man Festival is about. And here you are into your second video talking about this topic, and you have yet to go read the origins and the reasoning behind the Burning Man Festival. And there is a wealth of information out there about it. And yet here you are, you're still stuck on this as some kind of thing about community and dancing. And it's not anything of the sort, not even remotely.
I remember the mom being like, yeah, we're just gonna celebrate life, we're gonna sing, we're gonna dance. And then I remember her at the memorial talking about, thanks to the community, we work together as a whole.
So here's what we do. This is how we investigate. Okay, we find similar words in what somebody said. So because someone described the Burning Man as a community and that there would be dancing there, then if her mom uses those words in a different context, it must be associated. And that is just, I'm sorry, sir, with all due respect, it's just infantile. It's just infantile.
And how the kids are our future. And just so happens, I read at the Burning Man, they have something there that is for the kids' future.
Do you know how common it is for people to say the kids are our future? And this may come as some shock to you. Okay. There are people that would say that have never even heard of the Burning Man Festival. Just so you know.
You know, so that's all I was saying. I don't even really know if the Burning Man has anything to do with this case whatsoever.
Then why did you make a whole video connecting the dots like you had solved the puzzle? So I'm not sure. Why is it, and this ain't to you as much as it is to everybody listening. Why are we continually seeing this pattern? It's just lost on me as, this consistent pattern of using words out of context, okay, and then contradicting ourselves within the same sentence, let alone paragraph. But these people contradict them. They start a sentence, and by the end of the sentence, they have completely contradicted themselves. It is just the damnedest thing I've ever seen.
But I do think that it is very, very odd timing, right? From the day she went missing to when she got found. I think that is
okay, sir. In the summertime, every weekend in America, there's a festival of some kind. I'll bet you there were 10 festivals within an hour's drive of Truckee, California that weekend. A fair, a county fair, a tomato festival, a sweet corn festival, just name it, man. Rose festival, just Lord have mercy. And you are literally just taking one of those festivals that is 4 hours away and trying to connect it when there were other festivals a lot closer that would be just as guilty in your world. And I'm sorry, but I just find that to be just incredibly dumb, to be honest with you. Just incredibly stupid.
very, very odd timing. Now, to move on. First of all, this is a very big question that I definitely would have. All right? And I'll be honest, as I am a person that I do have a heart, and I do feel bad for other people. Like for people that lose a loved one. I'm not a cold.
But you don't feel bad enough for Kylie's parents to be even the slightest bit respectful and not make up your wild, silly, out of this world, over the top, cartoonish, stupid conspiracy theories that are just grounded in pure, willful ignorance and stupidity. And I mean that stupidity. How in the hell can you be the age you are and not have any damn clue that people that probably, I'm going to say it's over 50% of the population have a celebration of life rather than a grieving funeral? That is so common. How on earth you couldn't have known that is just striking to me. Just striking.
Cold-hearted killer and fucking somebody just stays mad all the time and all that. All right? But now, one thing I don't like, it's kind of like checking TV. You know what I mean? Telling people something just to get their money. I don't like that.
What are you talking about? See, here we go again. Just more ignorance. You saw one of Ryan Upchurch's conspiracy theorist, small-minded simpletons, crack squad, try to make that connection, and now here you are acting like it's a thing. That guy lived in that town. He knew them people. He knew that girl's nickname. And when he saw her nickname on the back of that laptop, it upset him, as it should have. And if he wants to talk about this case in a respectful manner, rather than throwing out wild conspiracy theories, I would argue that he has something of substance to add while you have nothing but just absolute frickin' nonsense. And I do mean friggin' nonsense. Wild, speculative, disrespectful nonsense based on lies and a drug-induced coma. The kid didn't do anything but show natural human emotion. Seeing that laptop was dumped on the bottom of the lake and treated like it was garbage. He lived there. That was his community. That girl went to high school he went to. Her parents worked in the town he lived in. Buddy. And I would dare argue that her parents would respect what's coming out of his mouth a hell of a lot more than they would the shit that's come out of you people's mouth and your stupid conspiracy theories.
All right? But one of the biggest things that has really triggered me, I guess, would be I just found out, and I read it in the U.S. Sun, so it's got to hold some weight. It's got to be part of the truth. But I heard that they cremated a long time ago, like not long after being found. But I heard that Kylie was cremated. Cremated. Now, I had to go and search for a long time because
A long time he searched.
Cremated.
He searched for a long time to find out why somebody would be cremated.
You gotta fucking be kidding me. I didn't believe it, right? Yeah. Well, I found it in about 3 other places also. So yeah, it's true. Now, here's my question, y'all. That realtor, Lindsay's realtor, started a GoFundMe on the 7th. A GoFundMe for $150 fucking $1,000. $150 fucking $1,000. And you turn around and cremate?
What? I just can't even understand where you find any one, over 50% of the population choose cremation because what we talked about in the beginning. Okay. One, not too many people have a religious connection anymore. Some religions do believe in cremation, but a lot of people don't bother with church anymore. Funerals are expensive. And, you know, let's be real. You put your loved one in the ground in a $10,000 wooden box and a $5,000 vault, and the worms eat them as the body decomposes. And so I would say that it's more, the reason why people do the funeral thing is because, the Christian belief is that man would return to dust. But for you to assume that GoFundMe was about paying for a basic funeral would be like $12,000 for a very basic funeral. And her parents, I want you to pay attention to me, bud. Okay. Kylie's parents, her grandfather, her dad, her grandparents on the other side of her family, her mom and her stepdad, none of those people were hurting for money. None of them. They're fairly financially well-to-do. Okay. I'm not going to say $12,000 is jump change to them, but it wouldn't be an issue. They could put their hands on it tomorrow. I would argue that the average middle class person could cough up 12 grand if they had to. For some, it would be impossible. For like a guy like you, a guy like Uncle Will, a guy like Dad on Dope or Doper Dad or Fentanyl Father, whatever the hell his name is, or Stoned Dad. Yeah, guys like you, yeah, 12 grand's way out of reach. You wouldn't be able to get your hands on it right away because you live incredibly irresponsibly. But for a lot of people, that's not much money. And you imbecile, that GoFundMe didn't have a damn thing to do with paying for a funeral. I would think if you're going to be this connected, this involved, this enthusiastic to where you want to connect the dots where it's like drawing straws, you would at least pay attention to what's going on and go read what the GoFundMe is for. Because it wasn't to pay for a funeral. You imbecile. Whew.
Are you kidding me? Like, really? So, look, I don't know if a lot of people know about cremating somebody, but my dad wanted to be cremated. And it cost us like right at $3,000. $2,800, I believe. So the one GoFundMe for $150,000 didn't make it to $150,000 before the car was found. It made it to about $70,000. And still.
Now, I want you people to know how dumb this idiot is. Because I am so sick of listening to you small-minded idiots drag these people. The first GoFundMe was to raise money. Pay attention to me. The first GoFundMe was to raise money to help find her. To help find her. They were blowing through. This was a small community, you numbskull. You absolute nincompoop. It was a small community. They were blowing through 5,000 man hours looking for this girl, pulling people in from 3 different departments and having to pay massive amounts of overtime that they weren't budgeted for. They wanted to pay some other professional sonar people to come in before Adventures with Purpose volunteered. See, they didn't know that that was going to happen. And no one individual pocketed that money. You moron. You just think just that the lady that started the GoFundMe will just go over there and they'll count it out to her and she can just take it home and do with it what she wants? You know, GoFundMe does not allow that, you moron. You have to justify what it's going to, and they check it out. And if there's anything nefarious about it at all, you don't have no GoFundMe no more. And they will just return everybody's money. But you go ahead and continue with this just absolute idiotic nonsense. And I'm just tired of being nice, buddy. You're another one. You're another one that's going to just have to be trolled for a while till you get it. Nobody did a GoFundMe to make a personal profit. It's impossible to do that. You got that idea in your head because Ryan Upchurch in a drug-fueled haze told you that. You cannot set up a GoFundMe and it be bullshit. They check it out, dumbass. You can't have a GoFundMe that's for profit. So, for example, if I set up a GoFundMe to pay for your education, to get you through the 6th grade, okay? If we can't get you through the 6th grade, GoFundMe ain't going to let me keep the money. Comprende?
You cremated your 16-year-old daughter?
Now, this is something that just really, really grates me. Over 50% of the population do cremation. In other countries, it is the known procedure. They don't put people in the ground. They cremate them. And here you are acting like they did something horrible to their own child because they handled her passing the way that they would, the way that they would choose. And you're also trying to insinuate they did it to be cheap. They aren't the kind of people, you idiot, that believe in putting a body in the ground and letting it rot.
Okay. What's the address?
Many religions believe that cremation is the final passing. It returns you to dust in the wind.
Okay,
Because your soul has left that body and it is nothing but a carcass.
So he was there on the 26th, you said?
It's only the Catholic religion, the Protestant religion, and a few other derivatives of those that actually do the dig a hole and put the person in the ground thing. Now, those religions are of the most popular in the United States. So that's why maybe the bubble you grew up in, people did a funeral where they pay a bunch of money for a wooden box, stick it in the ground, and let the body rot. But trust me, traditionally, if you look at it globally, cremation is probably 80, no, it's probably not that high, 70%. Cremation is probably 70% of the send-off of choice if you were to look at it globally. Because there's many countries that don't do burials. I just cannot believe that in a time in this country where you have a wealth of information at your fingertips, I hear idiots like you say something just as about as stupid as what you just said. That is some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
And had a GoFundMe for $150 motherfucking $1,000.
That didn't have anything to do at all, not one thing to do at all with paying for the funeral that they could pay for just fine. They didn't need GoFundMe to pay for a funeral, buddy. Them people own a lodge that's worth $500,000. They probably do $12K in a month. It's just, I just don't know how anybody. You don't think her parents had life insurance on her? Guarantee you they did. I guarantee you that they had life insurance, because they're not irresponsible idiots like you and Uncle Will and Doper Dad. They think about tomorrow instead of today. Now we know exactly why you're a goddamn truck driver. The one job that requires absolutely not any skill whatsoever or any thinking. You know, a 16-year-old girl can learn to drive. There are people with one leg that can drive. There are people in a wheelchair that can drive. There are people that can only see out of one eye that can drive. There are people that have no arms that can drive. It's the simplest task a human can do. So you're in the perfect fucking job being that damn dumb.
Like, why? Like, if you were going to cremate, then why would it be $150,000? Look,
they had no control over that. You idiot. Kylie's parents had nothing to do with that GoFundMe. They didn't have access to it. They couldn't get access to it. It wasn't theirs. That was put up on the community's behalf to help pay for the search, to bring in more professionals that, need gas and food while they're there, something to drink while they're there. People can't just take a week off of work and go look for a kid. I just can't. I wish somebody could tell me what people like you, Uncle Will, Fentanyl Father, what do you guys do when like some real crisis happens in your life? It just seems to me that you guys would just be lost. Let's get to the end of this before we throw up.
Here's my point. If I were to start a GoFundMe and tell y'all, look, I lost a loved one. I can't afford to bury him, or I lost a loved one.
This is how dumb he is. The GoFundMe was set up before they knew anything. The girl was simply missing, and they were looking for her. They were believing at that time they're going to find her alive, and they just needed to bring in more people to look. Again, you imbecile. Kylie's parents weren't connected to that GoFundMe in any way, shape, and or form. They had nothing to do with it being set up, and they would not be able to have access to a penny of it. They could well afford a funeral. I guarantee you they had life insurance on, but even if they didn't, guarantee you they could put their hands on 12 to 15 grand in a moment's notice, like most upper middle class people can. That's not a lot of money. My grandson has more money than that, buddy. He's 10. It's not a lot of money. Dear God.
I need $40,000. And then y'all find out that I go and cremate them for $2,800.
You wouldn't be able to. GoFundMe wouldn't let you get away with that.
people would be on my ass like white on rice. Like,
But here's how dumb you are. Okay. What if I set up a GoFundMe to pay for your relative's funeral and you had nothing to do with me setting that up? Then what? Then what, moron?
white on fucking rice. And I know it. Because it would be like I ripped y'all off. I mean, honestly. And I would expect it. So if I took $40,000 and I used $2,800, that's about $37,000 that people worked hard to get, but gave it to me. But
I got some news for you, buddy. I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that would be willing to go to that much trouble for a fucking measly $30K.
and now I just took it and didn't spend it on what I said I needed it for, right? Well, well, they got 70,000 right at it and cremated.
They didn't get a damn dime of it, you idiot. You can go to the GoFundMe. Hey, I want you to pay attention to me, Mr. Google. Inspector Gadget. You can go to the GoFundMe website and read the disbursement. They give it all to you. You'll see exactly where the money went.
Their 16-year-old daughter. Now, y'all help me figure that out.
Nah, no thanks. Don't help him figure it out. Just don't. There's no point in helping him figure it out. Have a good day, folks.